Hi there, it's time to look at XCN through the Wyckoff lens again. If you're new to my sessions, here are the 3 key items I'll cover during the session. And I'm not a financial advisor, just that these sessions are for education and discussion purpose with you and the wider asset tech community. If you haven't subscribed, remember to hit the button so you'll get reminded of new videos. So, this is the weekly chart of XCN. Currently, Onyx coin is at the early stage of accumulation. Alright, it's still seeking the selling climax. Looking at this week's candlestick coming down from last week, when we conducted the session last week, I already mentioned those candlesticks with the long wicks from the top. It's telling me that it's still not landing low enough to show us the selling climax. So that's where it is now. What to expect next, according to the Wyckoff method, is that after the selling climax, there is likely going to be an automatic rally where we see a number of people buying the dip, and then it would come down for subsequent tests, like more tests, like sideways trading. Alright, it can even drop lower than the selling climax. Okay, so that's the big picture. Now, let's get to the daily chart and see what's going on here. So the key focus is this light blue box. Okay, the downtrend that started back in mid-July for the case of Onyx coin, and it's still continuing. All right, we've got multiple levels between the key levels. So the red key level is 0.003, the orange key level is 0.008. We've got these yellow dashed lines representing the intermediate levels. So these are borrowed or referencing what we had back in 2023. All right, these aren't very strong levels. That's why I'm not considering that as key level. But as you can see, when the price move towards these levels, they do provide intermediate support or shows intermediate resistance. So that's how we can gauge what's actually going on along this downtrend. Currently, even though for the past 2-3 weeks it seems to be going through a sideways trading area, but yesterday or even the day before already confirmed that it's going to close below this middle yellow dash line to come to test a lower level. So the next intermediate support would be around 0.0038 before the price comes down to challenge the 0.003 red key level. So that's a more detailed view of where Onyx coin is. If you ask when is it going to finish this downtrend, there are at least 3 chances, but pointing towards different dates as we see it from the chart now. So assuming it's going through this trajectory, based on these bottoms and tops, I want to make a little bit of adjustments because the latest movements, especially these 3 lows since mid-October, seems to suggest that it may be traveling for a less steep decline. This dash line, blue dash line, I call it the center line, but don't get it wrong. It doesn't always cut the box into half. Alright? It actually lands on the area where we have the most dense head and tails of candlesticks. So when I say this blue box is an air hockey table, imagine the candlesticks or the line is the path where the puck travels. And it bounces not only between the 2 edges, but also this center line. Okay, so currently, actually over the past 2-3 months now, since mid-September, it has been pretty much traveling along this center line without even really challenging the 2 sides by looking at the line. But if we look at the wicks, we definitely see it challenged both the ceiling and the bottom. Alright, as of this moment, it's traveling still fortunately, along the stronger side of the box or the table. It came to the stronger side on the 7th, just 1.5 weeks ago. And now it's coming back to challenge the center line. Today it's just rebounding from the center line itself. So you see there are many lines in effect. The yellow lines we talked about, and even the center line provided the support yesterday and today before it comes down to challenge the 0.0038 I mentioned. So it's not going to be a surprise if it continues to come down to challenge the yellow dash line and eventually breaks it, continue along this trend and challenge the 0.003 red key level. So the dates that this is pointing to, we've got January 27th, February 7th, and February 19th. So assuming this sideways trend continue, and sometimes it comes back up above this middle yellow dash line, if it travels along this way, that's the earliest, Jan 27th. However, don't forget about the big picture. We talk about there would be, or according to the Wyckoff method, there should be an automatic rally. If that happens, that means it's going to come up and challenge a higher level. So referencing what's going on here, while it may not be going up as high as the orange key level of 0.008, this line over here is a possibility. The first or the very top yellow dash line. So if we go back to the daily chart, if the automatic rally does go above this, this is pointing towards the 5th of Jan. So if it really pumped to that point and exited it and started this sideways trend, that's a confirmation by the very first week of Jan we'll get. That's the earliest one. Otherwise, we have to wait till almost late of Jan or almost end of Jan, and then the first week of Feb and the second or the mid of February, depending on how deep the test would go. So that's for XCN, still early accumulation, but however, it doesn't need to always be very long for accumulation. For the case of XCN, it was almost 2 years for the last mega accumulation. Sometimes it lasts only for a couple of weeks. It depends on where the capital wants to play next. Okay, so thanks for joining me for this session. I'm moving on to the speedrun session. See you over there.